Manx Radio's Update with Dave Moore.
It's 5 o'clock, the time, and you're listening to Manx Radio. I'm Dave Moore, and this is Update. Welcome to the programme. Half an hour of the latest news in the Isle of Man, plus sport, business, travel updates, along with the newsmakers in person. Coming up, a Lancashire man's been sentenced after pleading guilty to stealing tens of thousands of pounds from an Isle of Man-based businesswoman. Local campaigners are calling on the government to rethink social media. Plus, it's all change for a popular local business. That's coming up in the next half hour. But first of all, the Update News headlines with Amy Griffiths. Faster my.
A 61-year-old Lancashire man's received a suspended prison sentence at Preston Crown Court after pleading guilty to stealing more than £50,000 from an Isle of Man-based businesswoman. Peter Robinson admitted stealing the money while the victim, Pamela Jones, was stuck in the island during COVID lockdown restrictions. Government should take note of a recent ruling which found some social media was designed to be addictive and reconsider its stance on a ban for under-16s. That's the view of some parents on the island who say the Isle of Man needs to adopt a tougher approach. John Bolton is a campaigner here.
I don't think we can really say we're going to see what the UK does anymore. I would expect our government quite happily champions the agile, independent line, which is great. Well, let's be agile and independent.
A motion to be put before Tynwald this month will propose that joint income tax treatment should be extended to cohabiting couples, not just those who are married or in civil partnerships. It's been brought forward by Ramsey MHK Laurie Hooper, who says the current system is bizarre.
When you create systems that gives people preferential treatment because they've made certain life choices and disadvantages people who've made different life choices, it doesn't seem that that's a very fair system.
Ramsey will host an art trail later this year as the town's beekeeping group celebrates its 100th year. Proceeds from the project will help fund the Ramsey and District Beekeepers Association's community apiary. Sharon Holloway is its treasurer.
You open up a hive and all the bees start coming out and people might think, oh no, maybe it's not for me. But we love to have new people come up and show them what beekeeping's all about.
Turning to international news now, and the UK is urging Donald Trump to step back from his threat to wipe out what he's called a whole civilization. The message was put on social media by the president with his 1 a.m. UK time deadline for the Iranians to reopen the Strait of Hormuz drawing closer. England's resident, formerly junior doctors are on strike. It's day 1 of 6 in their pay row, though the UK Health Secretary's called them the standout winners of the entire public sector. And Wireless Festival in London's been cancelled after headliner Kanye West was blocked from entering the UK. Recent anti-Semitic comments led to campaign groups pressuring ministers there, and earlier we heard the UK's Home Office decided to act. Those are your headlines. I'll be back with the news in full at 6.
Guramayu Amy. On to the weather. Fine today with a good deal of sunshine. It will remain fine overnight as the winds fall light and the minimum temperatures will be no lower than 6 or 7 Celsius. Dry again tomorrow, although rather cloudy. But still, some brighter spells to be had, especially in the afternoon. Top temperatures around 15 Celsius with generally light breezes. Cooler on Thursday, though. Outbreaks of rain during the morning, then sunny intervals in the afternoon. Temperatures around 10 or 11 at best.
If you're looking for supply-only double or triple glazed units, make sure you visit the Manx Glass and Glazing Showroom on the Snugborough Trading Estate or call 674 573. You're listening to the Isle of Man's quintessential daily news and current affairs roundup. Update on Manx Radio.
A 61-year-old Lancashire man's received a suspended prison sentence at Preston Crown Court after pleading guilty to stealing more than £50,000 from an Isle of Man-based businesswoman. Peter Robinson admitted stealing the money while the victim, Pamela Jones, was stuck in the island during COVID lockdown restrictions. Lewis Foster has this report.
The court heard how he'd been entrusted to run a business for her, but she was unable to check the accounts as she couldn't travel to England. Mr. Robinson, a potato farmer, had fallen on hard times when his contract with Golden Wonder and Morrison's came to an end in 2018. He then wanted to buy an equestrian supplies company from Mrs. Jones with the proceeds of land he was hoping to sell. They agreed he would take over the business until a sale went through. They moved the premises which she paid for, as well as the costs of setting up a cafe which he would run. She became concerned when weekly cash sheets weren't being completed and the size of the amounts which were being deposited. Part of their agreement was that she would do the accounts from the Isle of Man, where she was based at the time, but she was unable to physically check them as travel to and from the island was prevented by COVID-19 restrictions. A large amount of feedstock was also unaccounted for. Mrs. Jones reported her concerns to police, but despite arresting Mr. Robinson, their investigation didn't result in any charges. Therefore, she launched a private investigation. On the day he was due to stand trial, Robinson admitted 2 counts of theft totalling £52,197. He was sentenced to 21 months suspended for 12 months and was ordered to carry out 200 hours of unpaid work and 10 days of rehabilitation activity requirements. A proceeds of crime hearing will take place later this year.
Lewis Foster reporting. Some parents in the island believe a recent ruling in the United States regarding smartphone apps should be a wake-up call to the government here. The recent trial in California found that Meta, which owns Instagram, Facebook and WhatsApp, and Google, the owner of YouTube, intentionally designed social media platforms to be addictive. In response to recent questions, government said it had no plans to ban social media for under-16s, but will continue to monitor international debate on the issue. Campaigners Jessica Cross and John Bolton see the recent verdict as a watershed moment and told Lewis Foster they want the Isle of Man to take notice.
I was surprised, but for once in a pleasant way, because I was delighted that finally we've known, or there's been suspicion around, that it is addictive, and there is now evidence that Meta knowingly created these algorithms to be addictive. And I think, hurrah, as parents, we've finally got concrete evidence to say, look, big tech knows it's doing wrong, and we want change.
I don't think we can really say we're going to see what the UK does anymore. I would expect our government, as I said last time we was here, quite happily champions the agile, independent line, which is great. Well, let's be agile and independent. Why are we waiting for the 26th of May?
Meta and Google say they disagree with the verdict and intend to appeal. Meta said teen mental health is profoundly complex and cannot be linked to a single app. Meanwhile, reacting to the verdict, UK Prime Minister Sir Keir Starmer said the status quo was not good enough and more needed to be done to protect children. That reaction from the UK Prime Minister, like you mentioned there, Chief Minister Alfred Cannon says that the Isle of Man will be keeping a watching brief on that situation. That reaction from Keir Starmer, does that give you hope at all, Jess?
I think we've been too slow to act as a society. This has been around now nearly 20 years since social media, and it's rapidly changed since. I think we've got to be thinking faster, and as we await all of these things, it just evolves and moves on, and then I just feel like we're always catching our tails. I don't know what the solution is. I don't think anybody does really, but I think we've just got to be more proactive rather than reactive.
You're listening to the Isle of Man's quintessential daily news and current affairs roundup. Update on Manx Radio.
A question. Should couples who live together but aren't married or in a civil partnership be able to, for tax purposes, be jointly assessed? Ramsey MHK Laurie Hooper believes they should, and he says the current system treats people in long-term committed relationships unfairly. He'll bring a motion forward to Tynwald later this month on the matter. He told Lewis Foster why, and why now.
So this is actually an issue that came up a number of years ago, actually, shortly after I was first elected, if I'm perfectly honest. And it's been something I've been trying to push the Treasury into for some time. So we have a bizarre situation on the island where we have this system of joint taxation, which I think is actually really good. But you can't use that joint taxation unless you have a formal relationship status. You've got to be married or a civil partner. But there are quite a lot of people on the island who are in long-term committed relationships who haven't decided not to get married, decided they don't want to be a civil partner for whatever reason. And they're not able to avail themselves of the same system that the rest of us can, and that's never really felt fair, and actually it does disadvantage people on the island simply because they've made a decision not to get married or not to enter into a civil partnership, and that doesn't seem fair to me. So the reason for tabling it really now is because it's just an opportune moment. It just feels like it's part of a conversation that we were having around budget time, and I just thought actually there's no downside now in trying to take the next step and trying to get Tynwald to formally endorse this position.
Would you support a strict legal registry for cohabitants or a minimum, say, living together period? How How would it be defined?
So I think there's a fundamental misunderstanding here, because the Treasury already allow cohabiting couples to apply for joint taxation, or at least to share tax allowances if they have a child. So the Treasury have already got a system in place that says if you are cohabiting and you have a child, we're okay with treating you this way. So the Treasury fully understand what is meant by cohabiting couple. They have a system in place. They have a section of the Income Tax Act that already deals with cohabiting couples. This isn't a new concept for income tax. It's not a new concept for the Treasury. It's something they already do in certain specified circumstances, and those circumstances are that the cohabiting couple have a child together. So defining a cohabiting couple is something that income tax law has already done. It's already in the law as to what is meant by cohabiting. It's already something that's quite well defined and well understood by the Treasury. So if the Treasury Minister's position is we don't know how to define cohabiting couples, then I would respectfully suggest he has another read of the income tax legislation, because it is squarely in there.
Ramsey MHK, Laurie Hooper talking there to Lewis Foster. Now I can exclusively reveal a response from the Treasury Minister Chris Thomas to this matter, and he says Tynwald will debate Mr Hooper's motion later this month, and I will reserve remarks until then. However, it is disappointing that such a substantial change is proposed when there are so many other social, economic and public finance challenges around us. And this month's Tynwald sitting will get underway on April the 21st. You're listening to Update on Manx Radio. The outgoing clerk of Arbury and Rushen Commissioners says there is lots of really good and innovative work being carried out across local authorities. Phil Gaughan, who's leaving the post after 10 years of service, believes there's been an increase in the amount of bureaucracy attached to the position from when he first started. He has officially finished. However, he'll stay on for a couple of months during a transition position to support the incoming clerk. He told local democracy reporter Emma Draper, in some instances, the government could learn from local authorities.
I've really enjoyed it, which is not unsurprising because I actually care about local government. You know, I've long cared about it ever since I was old enough to understand about politics, which probably probably about 8 or 9 years old when my dad was a commissioner, an Arbury Parish Commissioner, and he was fighting against some central government proposal to change certain aspects of what was going on, and I recognised that there is something really quite important about local government, which sadly, it's fair to say, most people in the Isle of Man don't really seem to get. I'm not going to pretend that it's all a nirvana in local government. The fact that maybe only a third of the population bother to turn out to vote is a bit of a concern. But actually, local government, the local authorities can do an awful lot of really good stuff. And I've been very lucky to have worked with some great commissioners in my almost 9 years it'll be when I step down. Forward thinking, some really good ideas. I've helped them push them along in a few directions. They've pushed me in other directions. And I think in Arbury and Rushen we generally do a pretty good job in providing the services we have to provide, as well as providing some services that central government can't afford to do or can't afford to do well. So we supplement and help as best we can with those.
Manx Radio Travel, serviced by Quayside Tyres.
Well, we'll start at sea, and after the delays and cancellations of the weekend, that all seems to be behind the steam packet. The Manxman is due into Douglas around 6 o'clock this evening, having left Heysham this afternoon. Down at the airport, the Loganair flight, which was due to leave at 6 o'clock for Liverpool, is now showing as 6:56, so 4 minutes to 7 that's due to go, so almost an hour late. Aer Lingus Dublin is just about to leave Ronaldsway as well. Also showing on time is the 10 to 7 EasyJet service to Gatwick. In terms of arrivals into the island, the Loganair Manchester, which was due to land at 5:30, is now coming in around 6:15. EasyJet's Gatwick service should land at 6:20. The Loganair Liverpool, which will be knocked on from the departure, that's due to arrive back in the island at 5 to 9, an hour overdue. However, their London City service is showing us on time at 8:10.
From punches to full car service, Quayside Tyres and Service Centre has you covered. Get more with
Quayside, 664417.
Head to Quayside Tyres and Service Centre on South Quay Industrial Estate.
Quayside.
The Ramsey and District Beekeepers Association celebrating its centenary this year, and it's the only organisation on the island which runs a community apiary, where would-be beekeepers can try their hand. As part of its celebrations, there'll be an art trail throughout Ramsey in collaboration with the Art Association. The treasurer of the Ramsey and District Beekeepers Association, Sharon Holloway, has been talking to Howard Kane.
We've got around 60 members. We meet regularly at our community apiary.
And where is that?
That's up in Kerrigarrow. So the lovely family that own the farm up there have very kindly given us a whole field to ourselves. And we started up there last year. And we've been planting trees and hedges, and we've got about probably just over 12 hives. They're very productive up there. We've just got ourselves some shipping containers that we're going to be converting. So we always go up on a Sunday at 2:00. Anybody's always welcome. So it's a lovely way to come up and see if you think you might want to be a beekeeper, because a lot of people think, oh yes, that's lovely, let's be a beekeeper. And then you open up a hive and you hear this amazing noise and all the bees start coming out and people might think, oh no, maybe it's not for me. But we love to have new people come up and show them what beekeeping's all about.
And can anyone be a beekeeper, do you think?
Yes, why not? Yes, of course, yeah. Old, young. One of our youngest members is in the teens. Ramsey and Grammar School have their own hives that they come and learn through us, so that was great. Yeah, we've got all sorts of members. You don't have to keep them in your own garden if you don't want to. Generally, there's places around the island that are happy to take your bees and let you put them on their fields, or most of our beekeepers have got them in their own gardens because we're quite lucky here to have the room to do that, so yes. You become quite passionate and quite protective of your bees as well. Inevitably you squash the odd one or two when you're looking in your hives and you feel terrible about it, but it's a lovely hobby, yeah.
You're listening to the Isle of Man's quintessential daily news and current affairs roundup. Update on Manx Radio.
Station Garage in Castletown set to close in just over a week's time whilst it undergoes a makeover. And when it reopens towards the end of May, it will be under new management. The Owen family, who've owned and operated the site for more than 30 years, are taking a step back. And the owner, Michael Owen, who many know as Mo, has been speaking with Lewis Foster.
As a family, we're taking a step back at the end of this month, and retail services will be taken over. There'll be a full refit, new petrol pumps and everything, bringing the shop right up to to date and everything. We've been there now 34 years. We've had a fantastic time, and I would say we've had the best of it. My dad was in the petrol industry at Tiger Tim's down on the quay in the 60s and 70s, and he would probably tell me he had the best of it. But I think the way the world is now and the way things have changed, it's probably the right time to sort of take a step back and move on.
We know, of course, recent weeks haven't been the easiest for the likes of yourselves in the industry. Has that fast-tracked this idea, or has it been on the cards for a while?
No, we've been negotiating this for a while now. What's happened in the last few months, and up to now, we never even, thought of, that wasn't in our thoughts at all. This all started like 3 or 4 months ago, and we started negotiating it and stuff like that. What this has done, this has just taken the last couple of weeks have been quite tough, and it affects this is one of those things that affects everybody, unfortunately. Every single person is going to suffer because of what's going on.
Can you tell us a bit about who the new management will be?
Yeah, we'll still own the site, and retail services will be taking it on a long-term lease. People will know, and Peter Whitaker, who used to run the Co-op and used to be involved in Spa, he's the sort of manager of the people that are coming in to take over. They're hoping a minimal amount of closure, like they've got everybody. They're hoping that to get everybody in and everything go as fast as possible and reopen before TT week.
Michael Owen, owner of Station Garage, Castletown, talking to Lewis Foster. A new initiative is encouraging people to explore the Isle of Man while practising their Manx language skills. The Manin Abu passport's been launched as part of the Year of the Manx Language, rewarding participants with stamps each time they use the language. Tiffany Karush is the coordinator for Blen Nigilga.
The Manin Abu passport is all about encouraging members of the public to engage with the language in a really, really easy way, just by using some simple Manx words and Manx phrases when they're out and about visiting the island's shops, hospitality venues, cultural attractions. And the idea of it is that we will be printing hard copy passports, and these will be made available through the island's schools and also for picking up at places like the Sea Terminal and the Welcome Centre, high visitor footfall locations around the island. And the passports are for anybody of any age, and they challenge you to go around the island over the course of a few months and use Manx words in your interactions when you're in shops and cafes and hospitality. This would be with the participating destinations. And if you use a Manx word or phrase, and you will be prompted by your passport on what to say and also how to say it, you will be rewarded with a stamp for your passport. And the idea is that you will collect 18 stamps, and then your passport is complete, and it can be stuck down and popped in the post and sent back free post, with great thanks to Isle of Man Post for that, to Culture, and it will be entered into a prize draw, and that will be drawn at the end of the autumn half term later on this year. And there's some pretty incredible prizes.
Oh.
So, yeah.
Can we mention it at this stage or not? Or
so
was it
not
still...
quite ready
right.
to announce the prizes just yet, but they will be worth collecting stamps for. I'll say that much.
You're listening to Update on Manx Radio. How would you feel about a tourist levy for visitors to the Isle of Man? The idea, which is still at an early stage, is set to form part of an update to be presented to Tynwald this month. The Department for Enterprise says it will continue discussions with the industry to explore how such a scheme might work. But what do visitors and residents make of the prospect of an added cost, even a modest one? John Moss has been finding out.
So, what do you think of the idea of a tourist levy for people coming to the island?
Disagree with it.
Why?
Because I don't think we've got enough attractions over here to want a levy.
Would you think it'd put people off?
Yes, I think it would.
If you were coming over to the island and they said an extra £5 for coming in, the privilege of coming over here, you're...
No, yeah, disagree with that. Yeah. They've taken so much stuff away from the Isle of Man. I've been here since '98. It was great then. I would say yes then, but now what have they got to come to?
You, madam, what do you think? A levy?
I don't think it's the best idea. I think travel at present is really expensive to come to the island, and if you're booking hotels here, that again is quite expensive. So I don't think it would work. I don't think that's something that would help to attract more tourists to the island if the Manx government wants that to happen in the near future.
It would depend on people. They think just a few extra quid, I'm not doing it.
I personally, if it was a few extra quid, it wouldn't be a biggie. But I think that there might be better ways to raise that money rather than putting that emphasis on the tourists who are coming here.
So you come over on a cycling, you've been around the island, etc. Extra few quid as a levy. Would you say yes or no to that?
No, 100% no. Because everywhere you go, everybody's after money. In TT racing, all the prices go up.
But would it
anyway,
stop you coming to the island if you knew you were going to get a few pounds put on top?
Yeah, I reckon it would.
Just on principle?
Just on principle alone. I think it would, yeah, definitely.
You, sir?
Yeah, I agree, yeah. About the same.
About the same?
Yep.
So you wouldn't come back to our glorious island with its wonderful cycling roads just for the sake of a few quid?
Yeah.
Yeah, principles.
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 I class it as profiteering.
John Moss with that report. Now it's time for sport, and at the sports desk it's Rob Pritchard with brought to you by the Print Shed. Faster My, Rob.
Faster My, first up this evening, 10-man FC Isle of Man were on the receiving end of a 3-0 defeat at Stockport Town in the NWCFL Premier Division yesterday afternoon. The hosts led through a George West strike on 16 minutes before Ibrahima Diop doubled their advantage 6 minutes later. While trailing, the Ravens' task got tougher when striker Charlie Higgins was shown a straight red card in first half stoppage time for a challenge on Stockport Town's Jack Atkinson. In the second period, Stockport Town further cemented their lead with a third from Tobias Green in the 77th minute on their way to 3 points. Meanwhile, FC Isle of Man's opponents from last Saturday have apologised after not attending a rearranged fixture with the Ravens. The Manx side's match against Prestwich Hayes was abandoned on Saturday evening due to the weather conditions and rescheduled for the following day. The match was then cancelled on Sunday morning after the visitors failed to attend the bowl. Well, Prestwich Hayes says the club informed FC Isle of Man and the league on Saturday evening that it would not be able to fulfil the fixture on Sunday due to injuries, travel constraints and genuine concerns regarding player welfare. The club says it apologises to FC Isle of Man, the league and supporters for any inconvenience caused. Elsewhere in football, a busy midweek schedule of Isle of Man football fixtures gets underway this evening. 9 matches are penned in across the Canada Life Men's Premier League and Ardern and Drugger Limited Division 2, all due to get underway from 6 p.m. Among the top flight meetings, newly crowned ECAP FA Cup champions and Premier League leaders Corinthians host St John's United. And elsewhere in Ardern and Drugger Limited Division 2, Colby start the week 10 points clear at the Summit, ahead of a tricky home test against the 2026 GH Corlett Woods Cup champions Ramsey Youth Centre and Old Boys. And finally, youngsters across the island are being invited to try out the Isle of Man's youth cycling scene this evening. Ahead of the youth season getting underway on the Isle of Man next week, a taster session is being held at the Sir Mark Cavendish Raceway at the NSC in Douglas from 6 p.m. tonight. Organisers say the event is open to all, from stabilisers, balance bikes, mountain bikes and droppies. Will be available to children up to the age of 16 and will also be free to attend.
Yes, and I have some experience of that as well. My goodness me. That's it. Thanks, Rob. And that's it from Update for today. My thanks to newsreader Amy Griffiths and Lewis Foster for the content he provided for tonight's programme. Coming up after this programme, it is Countryside, brought to you as ever by Simon Clark and Kiri Kermode. Also tonight, don't forget 9 o'clock, John Barker is here with the Folk Show. And if you have a story you think we should be covering at Manx Radio, or even just want to say hello, then drop us an email at update@manxradio.com. And a reminder, you can listen to this programme again, plus many, many others, by going to the Manx Radio website, www.manxradio.com, and select your programmes from there. That's it from me. Have yourselves a very good evening.
Divorce doesn't have to mean a bitter battle in court. If you're both willing, an amicable divorce is possible. Man Benham Advocates supports respectful separation, saving you time, cost, and unnecessary stress.
We can help you utilise non-court methods to agree on finances and efficiently formalise your financial consent order. We aim for a respectful new beginning. Start your amicable path. Call Man Benham for your free confidential initial chat on 639 350.
Oh, June, 1 minute we're roasting hot in the conservatory and the next minute we're freezing cold.
Well, missus, you know how a hut keeps you cool in the summer and warm in the winter? Well, a solid conservatory roof from Spectrum Windows does the same job.
Great solution. Tell you what, Jeffrey needs a little bit of work on top. Do you think they could help him too?
Only if they've started selling wigs.
Transform your conservatory with a Guardian or Ultra Frame solid roof. Visit Spectrum Windows, the showroom, Derby Road, Ramsey, or call 817777.
You may have noticed a little more noise than usual on Victoria Street. That's because Conister Bank is having a makeover. We're refurbishing our office to create an even better experience for our customers, but it's business as usual. You can still visit us. Our temporary reception is just 1 floor up with our sister company Edgewater. The same team, the same friendly faces, and the same trusted service. We've been here for 90 years, and we're here to stay. Conister Bank, built on trust, focused on you.
Here at Q Plus, we're not just blue, we're green. From smart boilers to heat pumps, Q Plus supply products from the leading brands in renewable energy for a cleaner, greener home. So call into Q Plus on Snugborough Trading Estate, the island's largest independent plumbing and heating merchants for trade and retail. Or call 673 131 to talk to our friendly experts about the latest cost-effective products in home heating and find out what we can do for you at Q Plus.
The Nation Station, Manx Radio.